And yes, we are back live here on this beautiful Wednesday. Thank you for joining me here today on the topic of a worthy goal. It was Earl Nightingale, one of the authors that wrote once, success is, let me quote, success is the pursuit of a worthy goal. But the question is always, what is a worthy goal, particularly as it relates to you? Have you ever been in a situation before where you set yourself a goal and you didn't hit it, or where somebody else chose a goal for you and it didn't happen? Well, guess what? That means that it's not a worthy goal. So there's a difference between what's worthy and what's not on a subjective level. So let me just illustrate this with a story. I'm going to share my screen here with you so that you actually get an understanding of what I mean with this. So let's just dive into it right away. As you can see here, I have my screen up now, and you see that the topic of today is that diving into a story. First things first. This is my lovely family. This is us earlier this year in France on the ski slopes somewhere in the Alps. Beautiful place. Highly recommend you guys to go as soon as, let's say, travel restrictions are lifted and we can go and visit places like that in Europe. So anyway, there's my wife, Andrea, on the far left, and my beautiful son, Liam, in the middle of us, and then, of course, myself. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this particular picture here with you is because of my wife. My wife brought my attention to this book here, for example. That is The Gratitude Effect by Dr. John Demartini. And who remembers actually the movie, the blockbuster movie actually, called The Secret? You see Dr. John Demartini in it. He was one of the stars, featured in that movie. And suffices to say that he's a world-renowned celebrity. He is very successful, very affluent, very wealthy, and completely self-made. And not only that, he's had a serious impact around the world. And I think he's spoken so far to in 150 odd countries. In fact, one of the things that he loves doing is travel. And he loves always inspiring audiences. And so my wife, actually, let me just go back to the picture here. My wife not only brought my attention to this book and another one, she always said how she would love to actually get to meet Dr. John Demartini himself. And so as she was saying this, at the time we were living in Semaphore Park in South Australia, and as she mentioned that, something in myself clicked. And you probably know that when somebody says something, especially a loved one, that is important to them, you want to actually help them to get there, don't you? Yeah? And so going back to the goal, the worthy goal, I decided one day there that I would not just, let's say, content myself in saying, oh, well, that's a nice idea for you to actually, meet Dr. John Demartini and potentially develop a friendship with him. I actually wanted to go above and beyond. And I wanted to establish a connection with him and allow my wife and him to be able to connect and meet. So that was my goal. Let's now share what happened along the way. Would you like to know? Yeah? Let's have a look. So as I decided to get serious about reaching out to him, I did first of all my research. And I went to some of the open talks he was doing in Melbourne. So I flew into Melbourne, went into the talk, and actually sat down and listened to him. And at the end of which he had a Q&A whereby he was coming off stage and was willing to talk to people also one-on-one. So I made sure that I was at that time as well. And I started a connection there, opening it up and planting a seed in his mind. Now, anyway, long story short, here's what happened. Very soon after I've spoken to also his team and then himself again over a Skype call, he invited me, I kid you not, to meet him on this very ship behind me, which is called The World. Now, if you know that cruise ship is completely in private hands. In fact, it is the official residence of Dr. John Demartini, where he, along with another 99 odd millionaires or self-made millionaires and billionaires, has his house and his official address on the boat. Now, if you can imagine, sorry, I need to say ship because he always corrected me when I used the word boat. But at that day, here in Outer Harbour, South Australia, I was invited on that ship and met with him and actually was drinking champagne while watching this particular man perform. This is an Aboriginal person playing guitar and singing in the lobby of the world. Now, I can tell you that when you're sitting in a place like that, that is completely private, once again, and you know that, for example, that only people that are actually have bought their, let's say, apartments and units on that ship, and you start seeing who is actually around you in that same lobby. I saw, for example, Gina Reinhardt, the most affluent and wealthy multi-billionaire in Australia. She walked at an arm's length of me in that same lobby while I was sipping champagne and having a chat to Dr. John DeMartini. It kept going on and on. I got a complete private tour around the ship, also on level 12, I think, where there's a beautiful deck behind. And so I was able to start a personal relationship that very soon after brought him into Adelaide, where he's addressed my audience on 2 occasions already, in 2 different years, 17 and 18. And where, guess what? My wife picked him up from the airport and was finally able to have a chat to him one-on-one while they were driving to the Adelaide Entertainment Centre for him to speak on my audience, to my crowd. Now, that was really a really humbling and very kind of full circle coming around, which is absolutely great. Now, since then, as I said, he's spoken on 2 occasions on my stage to my audience. And we actually, since even today, have a standing friendship where once in a while we check in with each other, and we actually did about 2 weeks ago again on Skype. So anyway, nice to be able to start with an idea. And this is really what now leads me to the lessons learned. I'm going to share 4 lessons here with you that are worth taking note of. First things first, it's important that we see it in our mind first, because something miraculously happens if you plant the seed of a great thought in your mind, and then you do the next things. You ensure that not only you see it in your mind's eye, so to speak, you can actually also believe it in your heart, as Dale Carnegie. Was it Dale Carnegie? There was somebody that said, like, as long as man can see it in his mind and feel it in his heart, he can achieve. That Napoleon Hill, of course. There you go. That's pretty much the first 2 things, right? Out of his definition, he said, as long as you can see it and believe it, you can achieve it. There you go. That's the first 2 elements there for you. The next thing then though is, you cannot just, let's say, meditate and expect the world to come to you unless you go out to the world and take the actions consistent with it. So as I said, I first started with the idea to reach out to Dr. John DeMartini because of my wife's sake, right? Because that's what she really desired, to be able to talk to him and have a meaningful conversation with him one-on-one. So I had to first see it in my mind. Then I had to believe it in my heart that, he's just a mortal, that I'm not too small or too big, or, he's not too big for me or whatever to reach out to. And so I would find a way. And that's really the idea. So I believed it in my heart because it was important. I had a sincere desire, which is why this goal was worthy. It was my desire, not just my wife's desire. It was my desire. I chose it. I owned it. And I was prepared to take the actions consistent with it. So many actions later, yes, the thing came full circle, and we actually really met and developed a relationship from there. And I think it's also important that you trust the process. You trust just that you will figure things out, because sometimes the first thing you tried and the second and the third and the fourth might not quite get you there yet, but you just keep hammering at it. You keep doing what is required, and you trust the process that sooner or later it will become real for you. And so that is really my 4 learning lessons here from this story, having a worthy goal and how it actually became real. Now, I'm mindful that some of you guys have also either you already know a worthy goal, but you find it hard to kind of put it in action or get there, or you even haven't figured out what the worthy goal is that you want to next pursue in 2021. And so if this is you, I would love for us to have an opportunity to talk about what you are aiming for, what you would love to achieve, what you would love to realize in your business and in your life, so that it's a worthy goal and that we also got a plan for it. So that we can do this here, just prior to Christmas, I'll make myself available to a few people here to have this conversation. It is a conversation, guys. It is just an opportunity for us to connect, for us to have a chat about where you're at, where you want to get to, and how I might be able to help you get there faster. And so if that is you, you just go to www.bramlegru.com/impact application page 1. That's pretty much the page. I'll make sure that you also have it here as part of the comment section. But do this and let's have a discovery session together. It is on application only. It means that I will ask you in the lead up to this a few questions online so that I can actually really prepare for our meeting. And by the way, this is complimentary. There is no cost involved whatsoever, and it's neither a sales goal at all. The reason here is for me to be willing to help out to the best of my ability. So that's what you can rely on. And if during that call, we decide that we kind of want to work together on this, well, guess what? Then we just work out the details from there, and that's it. So nothing lost. You can only gain by applying for an app for discovery session with me today. I appreciate you guys joining in. Thank you again so much. I'm going to stop my screen sharing. I'm about to head out the office here, but let me just add that little the link here for you. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about accelerating your business in 2021. So I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks again for joining. Any thoughts or questions, please post them below. And if you'd like to have a chat, just apply for the discovery session. Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.